Hi, I'm Al from the Money Study, bringing you another episode of our Take 10 Challenge, and we're up to number 26, spouse splitting. This is not splitting your spouse, this is splitting the contributions to your spouse. And there's our disclaimer: facts, figures, information, not advice. Okay, contributions spouse splitting. And what it's all about is that, yes, you can put some money into a super fund and then later on split it out of your super fund and send it off to your spouse. Now, why would we want to do that? Well, it could be a case that you are getting up in level of super, getting very close to some of these caps that we'll talk about later on, what they call the accumulated phase value. Just got too much money in super. And it'd be lovely that as you approach these caps and restrictions, that you can actually peel off some of your money and send it to your partner. It could be just a case of just trying to equalise your super accounts, which was talked about before. Not really huge necessity in doing that, but it certainly might just make everyone feel a bit more comfortable if both super funds are the same. But it can be quite a clever strategy if there is a situation where there's perhaps a difference in age. It could be a significant difference in age. Just imagine your partner is 10 years older than you, in which case you could indeed be salary sacrificing into your own super fund, get a tax deduction for putting it into your super fund, but then actually split the money out of your super fund into your partner, who is, say, 10 years older. They're going to reach their preservation age 10 years before you'd even get there, meaning they could retire using your money. And of course, as long as you trust them, it could be a case that you indeed could retire early before your preservation age, because effectively a big chunk of money has indeed gone across from the other partner. So it's just an interesting scenario. We're looking at whether there's benefits for you and your situation, but there's no true tax advantage per se. It just comes down to that if you're planning to split, then it is a case of, are you claiming the tax deduction? So if you're claiming a tax deduction, you've got to get all your notice of intent, the claim forms and so forth, which we'll talk about. You've got to get all that in and get the recognised that you're claiming a tax deduction before the money is then split to the partner. You can generally apply to split your contributions with your partner after the end of the income year in which the contributions were made. So it's done once a year, effectively, at the end of the year. And there's a form to do it. Now, not all super funds will do this. They can say, look, no, we don't do spouse splitting. It could be a case that, yes, you can split from one super fund and your partner could have a totally different super fund, but does require both super funds to participate in spouse splitting. Maybe a lot simpler if you're both in the same super fund that do it from that point of view. But whichever way you go here, however, you will have to fill out a form from the ATO website, an NAT 15237, or another form provided there by your fund. They've probably got a form if they do it. But it is up to their discretion, if they want to do it. Of course, with any contributions, the usual sort of restrictions apply as far as what you're allowed to put into a super fund in any 1 year there. But of course, the contribution split with your partner is called a contribution splitting super benefit. And it's treated as a rollover, meaning the money, it's just like your partner had money in another super fund and it's rolled over into this account, but it's come from your account, because you can't normally roll over from a partner to a spouse. It's only the contributions in the year that you're allowed to do this. You can't just roll over half of your super fund into your partner. No, this is just purely the contributions, and the contributions are all concessional contributions. So these are money from an employer, salary sacrifice, and anything you've claimed a tax deduction on it. So you can't just drop $200,000 into your super fund and then roll that across. It's got to be an amount of money that we call concessional, which we will be explaining shortly. But effectively what it boils down to is this is just done once a year. It doesn't impact on the caps and the restrictions for the spouse receiving it, because it wasn't like a contribution. It was just literally like the money had rolled across from another super fund, like it was already in their own super fund. It's just come from yours. Okay. So accordingly, splitting your contributions with your partner does not reduce the total contributions made for you. So just because you've rolled the money across to your partner, then yes, it's counted for all the contributions that you did in the year. It's if you put it into your super fund in the first place. So if you've done a big chunk of salary sacrifice and had employer contributions and so forth, and you're going to go over caps, by splitting it to your partner, you're not going to fix that problem. You've already exceeded it. If you've already exceeded it, too bad. Splitting it to your partner is not going to fix the problem. So it's just like you've done it, and it's just like as if the money stayed in your account, but you've got the flexibility to indeed roll it over. There is restrictions. Generally speaking, it's 85% of what you contributed, and that's because of that 15% contributions tax we talked about. All a bit confusing, but it can be useful in certain circumstances, especially, say, if you and your partner are of different age. It's not something you have to do every year. You've got the choice of doing it just by filling out the form. Some years it might be useful, more so than other years, depending on what you're trying to achieve and why are you doing this. Come and have a chat if you need to go through it in any further detail.